Like the boss, Curley may be short, but unlike the boss, Curley is thin and Candy feels comfortable being openly critical of the younger man. Similarly, the boss's morality or character may seem ambiguous, but Curley's does not at all. Like the boss, Curley gets his status on the ranch from his wealth, or at least his father's wealth. Based on that information, it makes sense that he wears which article of clothing? Those high-heeled boots, just like his father. However, again, Curley does not wear the hat the same way that his father does. Steinbeck reserves that bit of costuming for another character on the ranch. Candy's willingness to criticize Curley to George is a clear giveaway to readers about how Steinbeck thinks we should regard Curley. We do not like him. That opinion gets cemented when Curley comes in and his first meaningful action in the novel is to size up Lenny and get ready to fight. He glanced coldly at Lenny and then George, his arms gradually bent at the elbows and his hands closed into fists. He stiffened and went into a slight crouch. His glance was at once calculating and pugnacious. Those physical descriptions are for a man getting ready to fight, and that's Curley's initial reaction to seeing Lenny. Keep in mind that Lenny is effectively a big kid, that Lenny hasn't done anything or said anything to Curley yet. The physical actions are subtle enough that we might miss them, but when we reread that last sentence and think about the two descriptors, calculating and pugnacious, we are left with a clear sense of Curley as a character. The description of calculating is Curley assessing his ability to fight Lenny, taking Lenny's measure, as it were. The term pugnacious literally means ready to fight or argue, antagonistic behavior. I include that second piece because that is exactly how we see Curley behave in this scene, as a character in conflict with our protagonists, George and Lenny. But why? Well, here again, our guide of Candy provides us an answer. Curley is like a lot of little guys. He hates big guys, kind of like he's mad at him because he ain't a big guy. Curly's pretty handy. Never did seem right to me. Suppose Curley jumps a big guy and licks him. Everybody says what a game guy Curley is. And suppose he does the same thing and gets licked. Then everybody says the big guy ought to pick somebody his own size, and maybe they gang up on the big guy. Seems like Curley ain't giving nobody a chance. Candy's assessment of Curley gives a good deal of insight into Curley's character, that he is motivated by jealousy or a sense of inferiority, and that he exploits his position so that he maintains an unfair advantage over others. Steinbeck builds that sense of unfairness when Candy clarifies that Curley won't ever get canned because his old man's the boss. That phrase should remind us of Curley's high-heeled boots with the spurs that signify his wealth and status on the ranch. Curley's pride and sense of inferiority are also bound up in the glove on his hand, which Candy clarifies as being full of Vaseline to keep the hand soft for his wife. Steinbeck's return to the hand motif and George's reaction, that's a dirty thing to tell around, tells us all we need to know about how to understand this new information. Curley is bragging to men on the ranch about his sexual exploits with his new wife. If George, as a protagonist and a common ranch hand with no particular knowledge of Curley's wife, believes that it's a low-class thing to do, it's clear the novel includes this to indicate that Curley is as lewd as any man on the ranch. We have other men behave in sexist and misogynistic ways, but in this case, Curley's suggestion strikes us as obscene because he is using it to impress random men on the ranch rather than respecting the privacy of his relationship with his wife. It's another mark against Curley's character and his desire to look strong at all times. That appearance of strength and his immediate aggression sets both of our main characters on edge. George's hostility is restrained only because he knows that Curley can get them fired. Lenny, on the other hand, is gripped by an animal-like desire to run. He knows Curley poses a threat, and he wants to leave immediately. George articulates what is at stake in the situation. I hate that kind of bastard. Like the old guy says, Curley don't take no chances. He always wins. Because of Curley's wealth, the men are nearly powerless against his ability to make trouble or pick a fight, and that tension between the two protagonists and Curley offers a clear conflict and easily identifiable antagonist.